are less than a month away from Dragon Ball Sparking Zero dropping, and I wanted to go over what GT characters have the highest chance of being shown and revealed for the base game roster without anything related to DLC. Let's go over my speculation and why I think these characters could be in. Alright, what is up? This is SLOplays, and I am back again with another Dragon Ball Sparking Zero speculation video. Let's talk about some Dragon Ball GT. Yes, the most taboo series for this game currently right now because they don't want to reveal them. There's been so many opportunities to show off at least one GT character, and we are in the end game, guys. We are literally less than a month away from this game dropping, and I've gotten some requests to do a video talking about if there is a possibility of any GT characters showing up in the base game, okay? We're not going to be discussing anything in regards to DLC. I still do think the likelihood of a lot of, or at least the majority of the GT characters will be DLC later on after the first season, which is going to be Superhero and Daima. But I know we've talked about it a lot. Okay, we've definitely discussed the possibility of DLC being, you know, movies and GT related, right? But I do think there is a chance that we might see some GT characters. In a sense, I think they're going to sprinkle a little bit of everything, you know, from all these series that we're waiting for, either it be OG Dragon Ball, GT, and the movies. They might have a couple of the heavy hitters, right? I don't think it's too unrealistic, and I'm going to go based on some of the previous older games and, you know, kind of use that as evidence. Now, again, that's not confirming anything. None of this is 100% confirmed. None of this is actually happening. It's just speculation, okay? It's just a video for fun. Gotten some requests to do it, so let's jump straight on into it, okay? My boy Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, we gotta have him, right? We gotta have him. So let's get into the first line of business. Now, if you go back to Ultimate Tenkaichi, right? I believe the only two GT characters that showed up in this game, and I know Ultimate Tenkaichi is kind of like it's also taboo, like it's basically Dragon Ball Evolution. Like we don't talk about this game, right? But no, for what it was when it came out or whatever, the unique, you know, battle aspect and mechanics and stuff, I guess it was cool. But this was developed by Spike. Okay, Spike at the time, this was like what, 2011 or something like that, or 2010. Yeah, we had Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Omega Shenron. Again, those are the two like only sole GT characters that showed up. There was no SSJ4 Goku or Vegeta, and they didn't have any of, like, there was no Pan, there was no GT Trunks, there was no Baby, Super 17, none of that. So there's example number one from kind of one of the earlier days of these games, okay? Now, moving on to example number two. This is more recently. Now, this is Xenoverse, right? This is not anything that's related to Sparking, at least for the developer. This is developed by Dimps, but it's one of those, you know, it's still a Dragon Ball game, and again, we're just using this kind of to gauge who could show up in the base. Now, Super Saiyan 4 Goku was actually in the base game for Xenoverse 1, okay? This is the very first iteration into the series, and they did have Super Saiyan 4 Goku unlockable by completing all the parallel quests. So it was a little bit more of a challenging thing. It wasn't anything to do with the story mode. You did the parallel quests, which are a separate thing, okay? And if you did all of them, you could get Super Saiyan 4 Goku, okay? Now, when it came to Vegeta, some of y'all maybe don't know this if you never played the very first game, or you're, new to Xenoverse or whatever. Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta was a pre-order bonus unlockable character. And to my knowledge, they only had him unlockable in that method. It's like you couldn't even buy him as DLC later on, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but from what I recall, the only way to get him playable is if you pre-ordered the game and got the bonus unlock code. As crazy as that sounds. So, in a sense, he was considered, if you want to, because, he's there from day one as an opportunity to get if you pre-ordered. So, these two characters, in a sense, did show up in the base game day one if unlock them and everything, okay? Now, when it came to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super 17, and Omega Shenron, they were also in the base game. However, they were Shenron unlock exclusive, okay? You had to collect the Dragon Balls, and you had to wish. You had to do this 3 times, okay? I think the first time around, you would get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I think the second time around was Super 17, and then the final time was Omega Shenron. I probably fucked up the order on that. I can't even remember the process of it, but it was this. Okay, you could still unlock them in the base. You just had to do the Dragon Ball method. that could be a possibility for how they do it in Sparking Zero. Again, they did confirm, 100%, they did confirm that there will be characters that you can unlock via Super Shenron or just Shenron or whatever. I'm sure they're going to be probably like 2 different ones. They'll probably have regular green Shenron, okay, and they'll have Super Shenron. I don't know about the red Shenron or anything like that because that's GT, so again, I don't know if that's going to be a thing. Maybe that's how you unlock Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta if they have it in there, just for an example, right? So let's move on over to Tenkaichi 1, okay, because that's the very first iteration to the Sparking series in general. We got to go there, and we got to check out which GT characters actually made it in that game. All right, guys, here we are in the very first Sparking or Tenkaichi 1 game. This is kind of crazy. I have good memories of this game, even though it didn't play the best. But let's get into the surprising decent amount of GT characters that they did include. Now, keep in mind, this was the very first game, so they actually did a decent job with it. The only thing that kind of sucked about this game is you had to choose the forms at the character select. You couldn't transform into them. I don't think that was a thing that was added until the next game for Tenkaichi 2, and obviously Tenkaichi 3 had it. But yeah, Super Saiyan 4 Goku did make the cut, and can we just appreciate, okay, this character select screen, how they organized it, that's how it needs to be for Sparking Zero, okay? All they got to do is just have each transformation in like a sub-slot thing, you know, so it's not just crowding up. And I think there is still a possibility that that might be the case. But Vegeta also did have Super Saiyan 4 as well. Now, if we scroll all the way down over here, we did get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Now, they still do call him, which is kind of crazy, Super Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4, which is kind of weird. But moving on here, if we go all the way down, because they're all the way at the end here, we did have Baby Vegeta and Super 17. Now, they just called this version of him just Baby Vegeta, okay? They didn't call him Super Baby 2 or Super Baby Vegeta or any of that, so yeah, that's a decent amount, okay? There was no Omega Shenron, which was kind of weird, or even Sin Shenron, but again, this is the very first game, so they were probably just like, we'll include, you know, some of the, you know, main villains for this one, and then, of course, you know, the Super Saiyan 4. So that's like, what? That was like 5 characters from GT. Now, it doesn't have to be like all of them. They didn't have to include every single one of them, because again, this was like, you know, the very first game, and since DLC wasn't a thing, they would just basically the sequels to these games were DLC, like the way that they would do DLC, because, you know, they would just build off of the foundation of the very first game and then just keep adding more and more characters, features, stages, and all that good shit, right? So that's kind of what I wanted to go with in terms of an example. One of the previous old games that was part of the Sparking series, and it being the very first one in the series where they actually did include you know, an okay, small, you know, little amount of GT. Like I said, they're going to be probably a potential of sprinkling in a couple of characters from each year. Look at the little capsule going by, bruh. Now, this leads me to the final part of the video where I'm going to go over at least the 6 characters that I think have the highest chance of making it into the base game roster, okay? There is still potential that this is DLC, right? But I think that these work the best. They're just the most popular. They're the heavy hitters, and I think a lot of fans would appreciate it if we could at least get Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, maybe Super Baby, Super 17, and then, of course, Omega Shenron. Now, you know, we could mix and match, or like, you know, take some out, put some in. Maybe it's just Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and that's it. Maybe that's all they're gonna have for the base, and then the rest will be DLC, okay? Or maybe they do Super Saiyan, all the Super Saiyan 4s, and then one of the villains, like, for example, Omega Shenron or Super Baby, okay? That could make sense, right? I think that if I was going to go off of the less likely chance of some of these characters, maybe Super Baby 2 and Super 17 they don't have, and maybe even Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta that they don't have, but they might have just Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and maybe just Omega Shenron, just like Ultimate Tenkaichi did, mainly because those characters don't really have any transformations. I know Sin Shenron, you know, maybe they'll do Sin and that can transform into Omega or whatever like they had in Tenkaichi 3, and just have Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta by himself. So that's 3 characters, okay? It's all dependent on who they're adding from Dragon Ball Super, okay? Once we see who they're adding from Dragon Ball Super, we'll know for sure, okay? If that's going to be the case, if they're going to do one single, you know, trailer for Dragon Ball Super, or if they're going to have the rest of the 25 slots included in that, right? Now, if we go and we check it out, like I said, there are 25 slots left, okay? Look at the placements of everything. Now, it doesn't always make sense in terms of where these characters are going to be placed, but for the most part, they're going to be in an area that, you know, would work near certain characters that are related to them. So, I mean, we got, you know, Goku and Vegeta slots right here. Like right here, this right here, or right here could be where Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta might fit in, okay? And then Omega Shenron, like, fuck it. Maybe they put him, like, over here or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe they put him, like, down here or something like that, right? You know, it doesn't mean the fact that we have only Z and only Dragon Ball Super, that doesn't 100% confirm that that's all we'll get, okay? You have no idea. We have no idea what they're going to show. They even have stated in interviews before, I mean, we've gone over that a million times, that GT is planned for the game. They want to put GT in the game. However, again, we still don't know what's going to be base and what's going to be, you know, DLC. But just know that they're not going to miss the opportunity of having one of the most popular characters, for example, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, okay, in this game eventually, one way or another, in some way, shape, or form, okay? So, if there are 25 characters that they can just pull out of their ass, okay, no, I don't want to say pull out, but you know what I mean? Like, if they can find 25 characters from Dragon Ball Super that they have not revealed yet, I will be very surprised. That means that they really wanted to focus on Dragon Ball Super. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I'm personally okay if they have GT as DLC. But I still do feel like they gotta sprinkle at least a few of them, okay? And like I said, going back to this list, I think these are going to be our 6 candidates that would make the most sense. And now, again, some people might ask, okay, well, what if they add Super Saiyan 4, Goku, Vegeta, for example, or even Baby, okay, Super Baby? They're just going to be by themselves, or will they include all the forms? Because if they include all the forms, that's going to take up even more slots. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's the thing. I have no idea how they would do it. It is possible that they could add Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Vegeta, and just Super Baby, this version of him. That's it, without any of the transformations, and make the actual forms and everything for like GT Goku or GT Vegeta. Maybe they'll make those as DLC later on, okay? I know that sounds really weird, but keep in mind, Xenoverse 2 added GT Vegeta as a playable character years after they already had Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, you know what I mean? And obviously, you couldn't transform into them, but if they add them as DLC, for example, later, and again, it's not that, I feel like that's unlikely, you know, that'd be weird, but maybe, okay, anything's possible with this game, and if they want to make money with it, maybe their decision or how they go about it is, oh, let's at least include these big major forms in the game first, and then we'll have them be able to transform into them later if you buy the DLC or whatever. That would probably piss a lot of people off. And like I said, this is all speculation. I could be easily 100% wrong on all of this shit. But again, this game is new, okay? It's brand new, and you don't know, nobody knows how they're going to handle this stuff, okay? That's why I feel like, if anything, if they're going to add any GT characters, I think just Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and maybe Sin and Omega might be the only 3 that they have for the base, okay? And then the rest, maybe they'll do, you know, something else. But I don't know. Maybe they just won't have any of them. Again, video mainly for fun and because people requested me to talk about it. If I were to choose any of them, this would make sense. And, you know, people always bring up at that very first trailer where they was going through all of the sagas and stuff. And then it shows Super Saiyan 4 Goku, you know, fighting in that, like, little TV trailer or whatever for the very first Tenkaichi 4 reveal back in, like, March of last year, okay? People always bring that up as, like, oh, that means that Super Saiyan 4 is going to be in the game. You know, GT is going to be in the game. But, I don't know. You'll let me know your thoughts and opinions. If you could choose any of the GT characters to put in the base game, who would they be and why? Thanks for watching. Drop a like, subscribe here on the channel, ring my notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!
This is Broly, and you are watching SLOplays. Make sure to subscribe, or else I'll destroy your entire planet.